Have you ever felt her pull away for no apparent reason? Or sensed that despite your best efforts, something invisible is creating distance? Most men blame timing, luck, or even her mood, but the truth is far more unsettling. It's often the silent mistakes you make every day that push her away before you even realize it. And here's the brutal reality. Women notice these mistakes instantly. They may smile, laugh, and seem engaged, but deep down, they are evaluating every word, gesture, and energy you put out. The first and most destructive mistake is being emotionally unavailable while pretending to be present. Many men believe that showing interest is enough. They think buying gifts, offering compliments, or listening occasionally covers up the deeper need for connection. But women are wired to detect emotional gaps instinctively. If your words say, "I care," but your energy, responsiveness, and engagement suggest otherwise, it creates tension and subtle withdrawal. Women feel this mismatch in their gut. They can't always articulate it, but it quietly erodes attraction. Emotional unavailability doesn't just kill connection, it sets off subconscious alarms that tell her to step back before investing more energy. The second mistake is over-pleasing and avoiding boundaries. Some men think being liked means saying yes to everything, agreeing with every opinion, or avoiding conflict at all costs. On the surface, this seems harmless, even appealing. But women subconsciously equate constant accommodation with weakness or lack of direction. Attraction is amplified by confidence, decisiveness, and integrity, not endless compliance. When you fail to set boundaries or stand for yourself, you signal that you're malleable, easily swayed, or without personal standards. That diminishes respect and emotional interest faster than almost any other mistake a man can make. Third is lack of self-maintenance. Not just physical appearance, but mental and emotional energy. Women are drawn to men who take care of themselves because self-care signals vitality, stability, and long-term engagement. Neglecting grooming, fitness, or personal development communicates complacency and lack of energy. Even subtle signs like slouching, dragging feet, or appearing tired and disengaged create an invisible barrier. Women instinctively assess your capacity for vitality and energy before attraction ever forms. If they detect stagnation, it triggers avoidance instincts, even subconsciously. Next, consider poor listening or distracted presence. Women don't just want to be heard, they want to feel truly understood. Nodding while scrolling your phone or thinking about your next response sends the message that you are partially absent. Even brief lapses of attention create small cracks in trust and connection. Attraction requires engagement at multiple levels: emotional, physical, and intellectual. When a man consistently fails to meet this, he unintentionally communicates that he is not fully available or invested. This subtle disengagement slowly erodes emotional chemistry, often without him noticing. Mistake number 5 is over-analyzing and over-explaining. Many men think they must rationalize every action, clarify every intention, and justify every word. Women, however, respond more to our energy and authenticity than explanations. Overthinking signals insecurity, hesitation, and internal chaos. Women subconsciously feel that if a man is constantly explaining himself, he may not be grounded or confident enough to navigate life and relationships. Attraction thrives on calm decisiveness, clear boundaries, and natural confidence, not constant mental gymnastics. The sixth common error is lack of emotional reciprocity. Women intuitively measure the balance of giving and receiving emotional energy. If you dominate conversations, focus only on your experiences, or fail to respond empathetically to her emotional cues, it signals imbalance. She may tolerate this initially, but over time it generates subtle frustration, emotional fatigue, and reduced desire. Women are wired to connect emotionally first. When a man cannot meet her energy in kind, the connection falters. Emotional reciprocity is not about constant agreement. It's about mutual awareness, responsiveness, and sensitivity to energy. Finally, mistake number 7 is failure to maintain intrigue and individuality. Some men overinvest in trying to be what they think she wants, gradually losing their unique identity in the process. Women are naturally drawn to men who carry a sense of self, who have interests, passions, and a life that isn't entirely dependent on the relationship. When a man becomes predictable, overly accommodating, or loses his personal boundaries, attraction diminishes. Women may stay for comfort or security, but desire fades because the element of curiosity and admiration disappears. Maintaining intrigue is not about manipulation. It's about living fully, confidently, and intentionally, and inviting her to share in your world rather than becoming her world entirely. If you reflect honestly, you may realize that some of these mistakes are habits you've repeated for years without noticing. And that's the cruelest part. They feel natural, harmless, or even helpful, yet they quietly erode attraction and connection. Women are wired to pick up on subtle cues of energy, confidence, and emotional availability. When you miss these invisible signals, no amount of charm, humor, or effort can compensate. So here's a question to ponder as you watch this video. Which of these 7 mistakes do you see yourself making most often without realizing it? How have they silently shaped your relationships and her interest in you? Answer in the comments below. I want to hear your reflection because awareness is the first step toward reversing these habits and regaining attraction. If this video opened your eyes, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to hear these truths. Remember, attraction is subtle, and understanding these psychological patterns is the difference between connection and quiet distance. Now let's peel back the layer most men never see, the psychological undercurrent behind these mistakes, and why they push women away so effectively. Because here's the truth. Attraction is not about logic, lists, or even intentions. It is a constant, subconscious evaluation of your energy, presence, and emotional reliability. Every micro-action, every gesture, every word, and every silence communicates more than you think. One of the most common unseen errors is inconsistent communication. Some men swing between being intensely present and suddenly withdrawing, whether consciously or unconsciously. Maybe he texts a lot for a few days, then goes silent for no reason. Maybe he is attentive in conversation one night, then distracted the next. Women notice these patterns instinctively. Even if she cannot articulate why she feels uneasy, her subconscious is analyzing whether you are a stable, reliable, and emotionally grounded man. Inconsistency triggers caution and withdrawal. Attraction thrives on predictable emotional reliability, not sporadic bursts of attention. Closely tied to this is subtle emotional withholding. Many men avoid expressing genuine feelings out of fear, pride, or habit. They mask vulnerability with humor, deflect intimacy with small talk, or dismiss emotions altogether. Women can sense this immediately. When a man consistently holds back, she reads it as distance, detachment, or a lack of trust. Emotional withholding silently signals, "I'm not fully available," even if your words suggest otherwise. Over time, she begins to emotionally disengage, not because she doesn't care, but because she feels the invisible boundary you've placed between you two. Another hidden mistake is over-reliance on approval-seeking behaviors. Complimenting excessively, over-explaining decisions, or constantly trying to please subconsciously communicates insecurity. Women respond to confidence, decisiveness, and calm self-assurance, not constant validation-seeking. When a man leans too heavily on her approval to feel worthy, he unintentionally signals weakness, and attraction diminishes. Women want a partner who can hold his own energy, not someone whose emotional state is dependent on their reactions. Let's talk about subtle neglect of physical presence and energy. Women are highly attuned to body language, micro-expressions, and overall energy. Slouching, dragging feet, avoiding eye contact, or appearing distracted sends an immediate signal of low vitality. Even when your words are confident, your body tells a different story. Women respond to energy before words. This is why grooming, posture, and movement are more than cosmetic. They are psychological signals of vitality, confidence, and engagement with life. Neglect them, and attraction wanes without a word being spoken. Another mistake is failure to maintain challenge and curiosity in interaction. Many men believe that being agreeable, available, or accommodating equals connection. In reality, attraction thrives on a subtle balance, availability mixed with independence. When you become predictable, overly accommodating, or entirely focused on her desires at the expense of your own, the dynamic shifts. Women instinctively sense the loss of challenge, intrigue, and vitality. Desire diminishes because curiosity and admiration are replaced with predictability and emotional monotony. Maintaining boundaries, expressing opinions, and living your life fully creates a magnetic balance of challenge and intimacy. The sixth hidden error is reacting emotionally without self-regulation. Men often respond impulsively, irritation, frustration, or defensiveness, when they perceive small slights or differences in opinion. Women subconsciously assess how a man handles tension and conflict, even in minor moments. Emotional volatility communicates instability, unpredictability, and insecurity. Controlled, deliberate responses signal strength, confidence, and emotional intelligence, which are deeply attractive traits. Every interaction where you maintain composure reinforces trust and desire, while uncontrolled reactions slowly erode it. Finally, there is failure to actively cultivate curiosity and engagement in her world. Many men unintentionally create distance by becoming passive, disengaged, or distracted. When you stop asking questions, listening intently, or showing interest in her experiences, attraction subtly diminishes. Women are not just looking for validation, they are seeking a man who actively invests in understanding them while maintaining his own grounded presence. The balance between curiosity and autonomy is essential. Without it, emotional and sexual attraction wanes silently but steadily. The overarching lesson is profound. Women are constantly, unconsciously evaluating your card energy, presence, and emotional reliability. Even small mistakes, emotional withholding, inconsistent communication, over-pleasing, low vitality, lack of curiosity, poor self-regulation, are instantly noticed and internalized. These are not about words, they are about silent, invisible cues that communicate who you are before any conversation can. So reflect for a moment. Which of these invisible mistakes do you catch yourself making most often? Which patterns are quietly pushing women away, even when you believe you're doing everything right? Awareness is the first step to correcting these behaviors, reclaiming attraction, and creating connections that are emotionally rich and deeply magnetic. I want you to answer this. Which one of these hidden psychological mistakes have you realized is affecting your relationships? And what small shift could you implement immediately? Write it in the comments below. Your honesty can be the first step to reversing habits that are silently sabotaging your connections. If this video has opened your eyes, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to understand the subtle psychology of attraction. Remember, the mistakes that push women away are rarely obvious, but when you recognize them, you gain the power to reverse them and create lasting, magnetic relationships. Now it's time to uncover the third layer, the habits that are so subtle, so ingrained, that most men never even notice them, but which destroy attraction faster than any glaring mistake. These are the behaviors that undermine her emotional connection without you even realizing it, leaving women frustrated, distant, or quietly disengaged. One of the most insidious errors is inconsistent confidence. Confidence isn't just about talking boldly or making decisions. It's an ongoing, steady energy that communicates stability. Many men fluctuate between moments of boldness and moments of hesitation. Perhaps you're decisive in one conversation, then suddenly uncertain in another. Women pick up on these micro-fluctuations immediately. Even subtle hesitations send signals of insecurity. What looks like harmless uncertainty to you registers as unreliability, lack of presence, and low energy to her. The solution isn't about pretending to be fearless, it's about projecting calm decisiveness in every interaction. Next is subtle signs of complacency. Men often fall into routines, neglecting the ongoing investment in themselves and the relationship. Complacency can show in body language, appearance, or lack of curiosity in conversation. A man who stops grooming meticulously, shrugs through interactions, or stops pursuing his own passions communicates that he has lost vitality. Women subconsciously sense this and may begin to emotionally disengage. The truth is that attraction requires continual evidence of personal growth, energy, and self-respect, even after decades of life experience. Another critical mistake is emotional unavailability disguised as stoicism. Many men believe that hiding vulnerability makes them more attractive. They maintain a calm or tough exterior, thinking it signals strength. In reality, this behavior communicates distance and disconnection. Women intuitively read emotional availability, not as verbal confessions, but through micro-expressions, tone, and attentiveness. When a man consistently hides feelings or avoids emotional depth, she senses a barrier that inhibits closeness. Over time, the attraction diminishes because emotional connection is a prerequisite for desire and trust. Then there's overdependence on approval. Compliments, reassurance seeking, and constant validation may seem innocent, even polite. But women subconsciously interpret this as insecurity and lack of autonomy. A man who consistently relies on her reactions to feel worthy signals emotional fragility. Attraction thrives when a man is grounded in his own sense of value while still being attuned to her energy. It's the balance of self-possession and responsiveness that creates magnetic tension and sustained desire. Another subtle but deadly habit is lack of active listening. Many men nod or provide minimal responses, thinking that this is enough. Women, however, crave deep engagement. Not just words, but attention to nuance, tone, and feeling. Ignoring these cues or providing surface-level responses communicates disinterest. Even when you are physically present, your energy may signal distraction or detachment. Attraction is fed by attentive listening, empathy, and emotional resonance, which creates the invisible bond that keeps her engaged. Poor energy management is another silent killer. Many men unconsciously broadcast fatigue, distraction, or low vitality through posture, facial tension, or tone of voice. Women read these microsignals instantly. A slouched back, tight shoulders, shallow breathing, or lack of expression signals disengagement. Conversely, a man who projects calm, vibrant energy, even subtly, communicates vitality, presence, and emotional stability. These signals operate at a subconscious level and can dramatically influence attraction. Another hidden mistake is failure to maintain personal passions and interests. Many men become overly focused on pleasing a partner or managing day-to-day responsibilities, neglecting their own pursuits. This creates an invisible vacuum. Women are drawn to men who live fully, have curiosity, and maintain a sense of individuality. When a man loses this spark, the emotional and sexual energy diminishes because she perceives predictability and a loss of excitement. Maintaining your own passions keeps desire alive by signaling independence, self-confidence, and purpose. Lastly, consider micro behaviors in daily interactions. Small things like rushing conversations, checking the phone, avoiding eye contact, or fidgeting may feel inconsequential. Yet women register these micro habits unconsciously as indicators of attention, presence, and emotional engagement. Each unnoticed habit chips away at attraction over time. The key is deliberate awareness. Every gesture, tone, and movement is a silent communicator of your emotional state, energy, and interest. When you align these micro habits with calm confidence, genuine interest, and vitality, the effect is magnetic. The overarching truth is that attraction is a layered psychological response. It is built not just on words, charm, or intent, but on subtle cues of energy, consistency, emotional availability, and vitality. Even men who believe they are doing everything right may unknowingly undermine desire with these invisible habits. Awareness is the first step toward transformation. Ask yourself this: which subtle behaviors or habits have you been unaware of that may be quietly pushing women away? What micro adjustment could you make starting today to reclaim presence, energy, and attraction? Write your reflection in the comments. It's often the small changes that create the most dramatic results. If this insight has opened your eyes, like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to understand these hidden psychological truths. Remember, attraction is more than effort. It's understanding the invisible language that communicates confidence, energy, and engagement. Now we arrive at the final, most crucial layer, the truth that most men never face. It's not what you say, it's how you exist in her presence that either pulls her close or pushes her away. By now, you understand the 7 biggest mistakes, the hidden psychological currents, and the subtle physical cues that influence attraction. But there's one unifying principle that ties it all together. Women are wired to read energy, consistency, and emotional reliability long before words are processed. Think about it. Every interaction you have sends hundreds of subconscious signals. A glance, a posture, a tone of voice, even a small pause in conversation communicates far more than your carefully chosen words. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If these signals are misaligned with confidence, vitality, and emotional presence, she will disengage quietly, without drama, without confrontation, but definitely without desire. Most men never notice until it's too late. One of the final traps is failing to project calm confidence in moments of tension. Life after 60 brings challenges, health concerns, family responsibilities, career transitions, and stress shows up subtly. Men often express this tension through frowns, tight jaws, or withdrawn body language. Women notice this instantly. They don't just see the stress, they feel it. Emotional calm is magnetic. When you maintain composure, even in difficult conversations, you signal stability, strength, and resilience, the invisible currency of attraction. Another crucial mistake is letting predictability replace intrigue. Comfort is not the same as attraction. A man who becomes too predictable, too accommodating, or who stops nurturing his own passions slowly loses magnetism. Women crave a sense of curiosity, challenge, and independence in a partner. Maintaining intrigue doesn't mean playing games, it means living fully, intentionally, and with passion. While inviting her to share in your energy, rather than becoming the center of your world entirely, we also see the danger of our emotional neglect disguised as giving her space. Some men interpret withdrawal or avoidance as respect for boundaries, but overdoing it creates distance. Women need emotional reciprocity. They want to feel seen, heard, and understood. Failing to respond to her energy or emotions signals disengagement, regardless of how polite or respectful you believe you are being. Emotional availability is not a luxury. It's the foundation of connection and desire. Then there's the subtle but critical factor of physical energy and presence. After 60, it's easy to assume that attraction fades with age. But the truth is, women respond less to looks and more to vitality, posture, movement, and energy. A man who walks with purpose, carries himself with presence, maintains grooming, and projects calm authority instantly communicates strength and vitality. Women don't consciously measure this, they feel it. And when energy, attention, and vitality align, attraction is rekindled, often more intensely than it was decades earlier. Another layer is the micro habits of attentiveness and engagement. Small gestures like steady eye contact, leaning slightly forward when she speaks, gentle touch, or responsive facial expressions communicate interest at a subconscious level. Women pick up on these cues instantly. The opposite, glancing at your phone, fidgeting, distracted nods, signals disinterest and slowly erodes desire. It's not just about being present, it's about being emotionally and physically present in a way that communicates reliability and attraction simultaneously. Finally, the ultimate truth is that All 7 mistakes, the subtle psychological traps, and the invisible physical cues are interconnected. They are threads in a complex tapestry of attraction. Fix one, and it helps, but addressing them together transforms your presence entirely. Women respond to integrated energy, confidence, calmness, vitality, emotional availability, curiosity, and consistent engagement. Missing even one thread creates subtle signals that she picks up instantly, often before you even speak. So here's the question for you. Which of these mistakes, habits, or invisible signals have you recognized in yourself that may have quietly pushed women away? And more importantly, what's one deliberate action you can take today to reverse it? Share your reflection in the comments below. Your awareness could not only transform your own relationships, but also help others see what they've been missing. If this video gave you clarity about the invisible forces shaping attraction, like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who needs to understand the psychology of connection. Remember, attraction is a subtle, layered, and deeply psychological dance. Master your energy, presence, and emotional reliability, and you will naturally draw women toward you, regardless of age or circumstance.